Reform councillor and London Mayor candidate Laila Cunningham spoke to The Telegraph and explained she has been receiving racism from Restore supporters.
I've had racist abuse from Restore voters, and I know people are going to say, oh, I've had it from Reform voters, like you say, but I've had it the most since they've come into play. There's a
what
meme
kind of stuff?
Well, so there's a meme going around that every time, a lot of times I've seen, I could show it to you. It's basically me in a wheelbarrow, dead, being pushed by Rupert Lowe, saying, deport, Allahu Akbar, deport, and I'm dead. And that's going around. And what was scary is that somehow my mum saw it and she was bawling her eyes out. I get, every time I post something, I said, deport, you're not British. They have an issue with the kids of immigrant like myself, or immigrants who have become British. They have a problem. Somehow they don't, I'm not saying Rupert does, but people from that party seem to think that I'm not British. And I take huge offence to that.
Now, this video has been making the rounds with many people point out the fact that there are Reform supporters who have been racist. And some of them have moved to Restore because the likes of Laila. And people have been, like, Reform supporters have directly been racist to Laila. But did you notice that Laila said that people are going to say, have you had it from Reform voters? I mean, is that not an omission? Lewis, is this just one big irony?
It's the definition of the leopard ate my face, if you know the meme. It's like, obviously I don't want to downplay actual racism that's been put towards her, but it is a case of, like, you are a part of the system that allowed this to happen, right? People were pushed so far to the right in many ways by rhetoric, by, I think was it yesterday or the day before, it was 10 years since thingy, oh God, I couldn't remember Kim Leadbeater's name. I'm so tired today. I'm literally forgetting the name of the MP who was assassinated while I'm invoking her name. Thank you, Joe Cox. I'm blanking out today, guys. That's the third name I've messed up today. And, they were having a conversation yesterday. I think it was on the news agents. And she was basically talking about how, we had this moment of thinking about how the rhetoric is used and the heat at the time of when that happened, everything from Brexit to all these other issues that were going on, and how basically since Brexit, we've always just lived under this hotness of constant vilified rhetoric that was put out and started by the Brexit campaign. Now, that's not the only cause, but that is kind of like a pinpoint that you can put out there when things basically got heated up and just never really calmed back down. Things have heated up multiple times, but they always kind of mellowed out. They haven't really stopped since then. And ever since then, it's been a race of, like, who can be the most racist, who can come up with the most stupid idea, which is going to, get rid of immigrants or reduce immigration, leave the ECHR, and, the Daily Mail, very relevant. What was the famous headline where it was like the, betrayers of our country, or whatever it is, for the judges in relation to an immigration related case? Like, all these types of stuff, they have helped us get there to that point. And they are a part of that. And now those people have been, in a way, massively captured by a system, which is, again, I will always tie this back to X because that's where I've seen it happen. They've become now so racist that they've moved away from a kind of quasi kind of ethno-nationalism where, they never really truly wanted the country to be fully white under a kind of like, they never really saw Reform that way. They never really saw Farage that way. They just wanted to be a bit more white, and kind of stay there. Whereas what Rupert is essentially representing, or at least what he is attracting, is white supremacy. I think he's obviously he puts out stuff out there which is obviously it stokes a lot of things, and he doesn't put stuff out there which is any pictures of him wearing a white hood or anything like that. But that is who he is definitely attracting through the rhetoric that he is saying, the people that he's reposting. And obviously, I don't really want to give it air because it's not really being covered, but his grooming gangs inquiry, which was released yesterday, which is just absolute bullshit. It's a complete and utter dog whistle, which is just filled with so much bullshit just to demonize an entire community for their own means and ends, that all of that is just a result of where people like Farage got us to, where Boris got us to, where many other players within the system got us to. And she thought, she kind of came onto the scene a couple of years ago as a slightly more prominent figure. Now she's become even more prominent. She thought she could jump onto this and it was just going to stay the same. It wasn't going to keep accelerating towards that position that the system that she's jumped onto to take advantage of has now moved past her. And we are in a phase where a lot of these people are openly calling themselves white supremacists, where we have people who want to deport multiple generations back. It's beyond we're going to get rid of illegal immigrants in 5 years and set up a deportation scheme. These people, from TikTok 2X to the people who are featured in the Daily Mail, they want multiple generations being sent back.
One of the figures cited in the rape inquiry was that 250,000 white women were raped by Muslim men. Completely fabricated figure, completely made up. I had a little small dig into it. I think we should probably go through it actually. And just, I don't know if it's going to be a feature on a show, but we should definitely dig it up and fact check. But some people have already done some fact check. Half the shit in it is just completely made up. A lot of the data is from one person's anecdotal evidence. Like, there's literally no data. That's why it's not getting mainstream coverage. A lot of people are like, it's not getting mainstream coverage because, you know, they want to cover up grooming gangs. It's like, no, it's because it's just full of crap. When it comes to reform, though, they would listen to your answer and say, but, okay, Restore are the racist party, but Reform aren't the racist party because all we're against is illegal immigration. That's it. That's a completely different thing. And it's like, well, the thing is, though, one, the existence of Reform has allowed Restore to thrive because they've moved the Overton window. And two, it's not just about legal immigration because Reform have quite literally said they're going to go for those on indefinite leave to remain, fully legal, but they've moved the rhetoric. So Ella Braveman has been saying there's anti-white racism. And you've had Robert Jenrick, who said that basically no one from Sudan should be able to come here after what happened in Belfast. And it's like, that's just straight up racism. You're blaming an entire nation, entire group of people for the crime of one disgusting scumbag. And to say, yeah, we should just like ban Sudanese people. Like, that's the shit we get from the BNP, but Reform's allowed to have been allowed to normalize that. So when people say, oh, you're smearing Reform as racist, okay, Restore racist, Reform just care about illegal immigration, it's crap. And illegal immigration is always a dog whistle to move on to migration and ultimately black and brown migration. That's it. If you're someone who's obsessed with illegal immigration, you're not just obsessed with illegal immigration. You're obsessed with just immigration in general. And the remigration ideology spouted by Restore supporters is the total remigration of those who are not white. So if you're an immigrant who comes from a black and brown family, probably extends to like Polish people as well. They were famously targeted by the Nazis. Gone.